Hey there guys, Artistic Nick here, thanks for the click. In today's drawing tutorial, I'm going to show you how to accurately plot a drawing of a human face using some simple tips. I've really been enjoying doing my step-by-step tutorial series recently. I've had some fantastic feedback from you guys, so I've decided today to just do a very simple human face using some tips as to how to get the right proportions, because I've had a few questions from people as to how do we draw a human face sort of without using a reference, and how do we get the placement of certain parts, for example the eyes and the nose, where do they all fit in? I've had a lot of people saying to me that when they draw a face something looks off and they're not entirely sure what it is that looks off. So I thought I'd put together this step-by-step tutorial. It isn't a time lapse, it's in real time, so it's a slightly longer video than usual, but I do think that sometimes it really benefits when you actually see the process that we're going through. So as you can see, what we're beginning with a rough circle. Now this doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. If you wanted to make a perfect circle, you could use a compass, or you could draw around something like a glass or a coaster. Then what I'm doing is I'm going to have some diagonal lines that are coming down, which are going to form the jawbone or the chin. Now this has to be, the end of this has to be half the diameter of the circle. So as you could see, I was getting a rough idea of the length of the circle, and I'm bringing these lines down to about half of the length. So we've got the circle and then we've got half of the length of the circle. Now for the next part of the drawing, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line for you, and I'm just going to show you how we section off parts of the head so that we know where to get certain features in. Now once you've done, or you've used this technique a few times, this isn't something that you have to do, but I would recommend when you're just sketching out, always putting your guideline over to the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure a line that's exactly the same length as the head that we're drawing, and then we're going to plot a center line in. So we're going to find exactly the center of this line, which then represents the center line of the face, and from there we can work our way around the face, making sure that the features are all in the correct place. Now we're going to divide each of the two sections that we've made into 4 equal parts. So the top part is going to have 4 sections. The bottom half below the center line is also going to have 4 sections. So just make sure that when you're measuring this out, you are quite accurate. It does make a difference if your measuring is slightly out, and that means that the lines aren't equal distances apart and they're not in the right areas, then you are going to have a face that's looking slightly off in some way, and it's quite often going to be undetectable. When you're actually looking at the face, you're going to know something's off, but you're not going to know exactly what it is. So make sure you take your time in this phase and just make sure that you are getting those lines separated equally, so that you've divided the top half into 4 parts and you're dividing the second half into 4 parts. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm then going to label A, B and C at the top. We then have the center line. I'm then going to find the 4 different sections for the bottom half, and I'm going to label them 1, 2 and 3. You can label them anything you like. If you don't want to label them, you don't have to, but I just thought for the purpose of this tutorial it makes sense just to have some idea of exactly where we're working, and you're going to have a total understanding of what I'm doing and where I'm laying certain things down. So for the next phase, what we're going to do is we're just going to bring out the lines from our line to the side of the page, and we're going to draw straight across, and we're going to do this very lightly. Now these are just going to be reference guides. You don't have to do this, but I would recommend doing it if this is your first couple of times of actually plotting a face out this way. I would recommend doing it, but like I've said, make sure that you do make these lines very light, because we are going to be rubbing them out towards the end. The final picture of this face is going to be done in ink, so don't worry if there are a few lines that go astray. We can make corrections towards the end, but try and make your line work as light as possible so that we can erase them all and we're not left with smudges and areas on the drawing that we're going to be unhappy with towards the end. We're then going to find placement for the eyes. Now the eyes always fall on the center line. We're going to draw almond shapes, and we're going to try and get the placement equal distances from the side of the face. Towards the top of the eye, we're just going to draw the flap of skin, the eyelid, just in the same sort of shape, following down and curving down to the sides of the eyes. Once we're happy with the placement of the eyes, we're going to draw 2 vertical lines coming down from the inside portions of the eyes. They're called the tear ducts, and we're going to bring them down to line number 2. This is going to give us the length of the nose. So line number 2 is going to be where we find the bottom of our nose, and the sort of the top of the lip area starts to come in to that line number 2. We're using the 2 vertical lines to give us the width of the nostrils. So we're going to draw some diagonal lines coming out, which are going to be the same width as the vertical lines, which line up with the tear duct. We're then going to arc a line up towards the eyebrow line, and the eyebrows are going to sit on line C, or just underneath line C. Next, we're going to just fill out some of the eyebrows with a rudimentary eyebrow shape. This doesn't have to be perfect, and you can get lots of reference images online of different shaped eyebrows. A female eyebrow is going to have a slightly different shape to a male eyebrow, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just going to go for a generic shape. It's going to arc round slightly wider than the eye itself, and we're just going to block that in. The width of the nose again can change from one person to another. So if we were drawing an Afro-Caribbean person, the width of their nose is going to be slightly wider than, let's say, somebody from Sweden or one of the countries surrounding that area. But again, there's lots of reference images out there that you can have a look at, but this is just giving you a general idea of how we would form a human face and where certain things lie. So we're going to start working on the mouth in a second, and what you'll notice is the width of the mouth is determined by the center point of the eyes. So we're going to draw another set of vertical lines in a second, coming down from the pupils of the eyes straight down, and this is going to give us the width of the top lip of the mouth. And again, this is quite important because I've watched people drawing before and they've got this part wrong, and it really throws the entire face off. It makes it look slightly elongated if they've done it too narrow. It makes it look slightly podgy if they've made it too wide. I've seen some people coming off of the corner of the outer edges of the eyes. So to find the width of the top lip of the mouth, we're going to draw 2 vertical lines which are going to come down from the pupils, which you'll see in a second, and that is going to give us the width of the top lip of the mouth. So once we've started to find the width of the mouth, we're just going to draw a generic top lip shape. It's a bowed shape, so the outer edges are going to curve upwards towards the nostril area, and then we're just going to bring the actual bottom of the lip so that it's not too thick in the center, but slightly thicker in the center than it is on the outer edges. We're next going to find the location for the ears, and again, this is something that if we get this slightly wrong, we're going to have a face that looks off without necessarily being very, very clear as to what is off with it. So when we look at somebody's ears, they actually line up with the top of the eye, or the crease over somebody's eye. So we're just above the center line, and again, people quite often draw ears that are quite small. So if you actually look at how far down they've come, we've come down to line number 2. So from the center line to line number 2, and that's going to give us the length of the ear. We're going to match this up on the second side. Again, people have different size ears, so if you're drawing from a reference, great. If you're doing it out of your memory, then just make sure that you're slightly wider at the bottom with an indentation into the middle, just to give us that contoured look to the ear. But what we're really looking for here is the placement. As you can see, we're placing the top of the ear level with the eye, just above the center line, and the bottom of the ear is coming down to line number 2. Now, as you can see, we've started to get something that's resembling quite an accurate looking face. I'm filling out the bottom lip now, so I'm just bringing a curved line down, making it slightly thicker than the top lip. And then what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to start refining some of the lines. I'm going to sharpen up the jawline. If we were drawing a male figure, we'd probably have a slightly thicker jawline with less of a curve coming down. But for this example, as you'll see in a second, as I add the hair, we actually are drawing a female form. So when we're adding hair now, we're just going to work off of the general shape of the head. I'm just going to draw some free flowing locks that's coming down to sort of shoulder length. Again, there's many images and references online that you can have a go at drawing different hairstyles, but I just thought that we'd have a go at this because we've actually got a fringe with this hairline that isn't bang in the center, so it's asymmetrical, kind of the look that you would see many females having all over the world. So this kind of generic hairstyle is one that once you've learned to draw this, you can have variations of it that are going to allow you to get different looks. But we're just doing some free flowing locks coming out nice and wide, making sure we're coming off of the top of the head, and then we're going to place the fringe just slightly to the left of center, just towards the left eye as we're looking at it. This video's helped you guys. I really enjoy making these step-by-step tutorials, so if you have something you'd like me to cover in a future video, don't forget, ask me that down below in the comments, or you can get hold of me on social media. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the usual social media platforms, so the links to all of those are down below in the descriptions. If you find me on there, you can ask a question. I do Instagram live videos as well, which I've had a lot of success with recently, but I'm having such a lot of fun with the channel. I'm really happy with the growth. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, so when I do reach 2,000 subscribers, I'm going to do a giveaway. So don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications icon, and I'm going to leave you with inking the rest of this drawing in now. So I'm using a permanent marker, it's a very fine line, and then I'm just going to erase all of the lines that we've used, the guidelines, just so that you can see the finished drawing. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've had so much fun making this video, and I'll see you next time. Hit subscribe, smack the notifications button, follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.